Okay, so we're still on the subject of how to cold email investors. There's a part one to this. So if you're watching this, you are joining kind of midway in the course. So you want to get a hold of the part one, or put a link to it above so that you can go watch that. So let's continue. We've already established a lot of things from part one, so we'll just take off to continue talking about the very important points that you should take note of when cold emailing investors. This is worth mentioning. It's always good for you to start with good news. Now, you may be in a very tough place as a business, and that's actually why you need an investor to come infuse some capital to help you get out of it, which is not really the best reason to go find an investor. Usually, investors want to invest in companies that don't need them, companies that are doing excellently well without them, because they are not trying to make your company work. They're trying to make their money multiply. But you may be in a very tough spot as a business, but that shouldn't really come through in your email. And that doesn't mean that you should lie about anything, but you want to start with good news, whatever is the good news you have. And we already established the importance of traction. So whatever kind of good news you have, that is what you should start with. And as again saying, for 13 years I've been trying to get an investor. If only you just help me out, I'll really appreciate it. Or you are the 15th investor I'm emailing this week, please, I really hope you respond to me. No, you got to lead with value and lead with good news. All right, so examples include maybe growth, successful past startups that you did, high profile accelerator you attended, press mentions, high profile press mentions. Like, it has to be really important. Like, if the newspaper on your street wrote something about you, unless your street is Wall Street, then there may be no need to quote that. So it really has to be something good. All right, so you gotta look for something good to start with. Okay, next important point. This is I find this a lot of times. Like, people go on to start describing their business without telling us what it is. As against you telling us, I'm creating a video, or I'm creating an app, or I'm creating a program. Right? People go on to start saying things like, well, I'm creating the most effective solution to health problems. We are aggregating a lot of content and data from so and so and so. We're getting resources from all these people. But what in the world are you doing? So the first thing that must be clear, and like we saw in the example we talked about in part one, what are you trying to do? Like, what is the thing? Is it an app? Is it a training program? Is it a video? Is it a lending company? What is it? All right. So does it have a name? Like, this is what we're trying to make speakers, or we're trying to make laptops, we're trying to make computers. We've got to know what it is before you go and tell us about the many features and why it's wonderful and why it's going to change the whole world and revolutionize the technology industry or whatever industry that you're focused on. And the investor also wants to know, what stage are you in the process? Are you still in the idea stage? Are you in the early stages? Are you in the later stages? It's also important for that to come through in your writing. And this is an important one, but this is not something that actually gets included in the email. But this is just about how the investor thinks. Like, what do you know about the market that is not apparent yet? All right, why do you think this is an opportunity beyond the fact that you are passionate about it? And that dichotomy between what you're passionate about and what is the market opportunity is very important for you to answer in your own head for your own purpose, because it actually informs the fluidity with which you even write the entire email itself. Nobody's going to fund your passion. Well, you are supposed to fund your passion, actually. And if anybody does fund your passion, wow, lucky you, good for you. But nobody's out there trying to fund your passion. People are trying to make their money work for them. And to make your money work for them, you have to serve a market. You have to give the market something that is looking for. And by giving the market something that is looking for, you then exchange that for income. And if you get enough of that income, you're going to build a great business and be very successful and make all the people who gave you money at the beginning very, very rich. That is the idea. So it doesn't begin with, oh, I really love this thing I'm working on, which is important. It's important that you love what you're working on. But before we want to know whether you love what you're working on, it's important to know whether is there a market opportunity there in the first place, and why do you think so. And market opportunities are not always apparent, so that's why it's important to know why do you think there's a market opportunity there. Don't think it's a no-brainer. If it's a no-brainer, then everybody else has taken advantage of it, and that means it may never really get to be a high growth business, or it may be riddled with a lot of competition. So usually the best kind of companies are the ones that, hey, this is where the world is going to, and it has started going in that direction, and not a lot of people know about it, and let's get in early. Getting in early is key. I mean, think about it. Think about the very first person, the very first set of guys who created mobile phones. Think about where they are now. Think about the very first set of people who started cyber cafes, how much money they make. Think about the very first set of, if you live in Nigeria, when the telecommunications companies came in, the very first set of companies, how much they were selling a SIM card was really a large amount of money at the time. But now, like, a SIM card, you can get it for what, free? Like, yeah, but those guys made money. So, like, getting in early is like really key to making a success out of a business endeavor. So are you offering an early entry into somewhere, right? Are you offering an early entry into somewhere? That's always very, very good. Another important point is to check the email address you're sending it from. You're sending this email itself from. Like, very unprofessional emails like sexyjenny@yahoo.com may not work very well because it speaks to your personality, and a certain kind of carelessness that could put off a segment of your market, and the investor is acutely aware of that. Like, your market may not like for you to have this kind of email address, so you want to check. You want to use official email address. So that's a better way to go about it. Using an official email, brian@employedafrica.com, much better, much safer, and just makes you look more professional. Okay. So let's look at these few other points that actually are kind of a matter of choice and will be interpreted into the specific situation. Maybe you should not be quick to ask for a face-to-face meeting. I think one of the best things that you can get out of a cold call is a reply, or sorry, I said cold call. A cold email is a reply to your email or a phone call. All right. Asking for a face-to-face meeting right away, especially when you're asking for something ridiculous, like I would like to come chat with you for 3 hours straight to discuss this my great idea because I need ample time to show you how I'm revolutionizing the world. Have no presumption that the people who are reading your email are just sitting around waiting to hear from you. They're not. They're actually working hard on like 10,000 other yous that are trying to get money out of them, and they are very, very, very weary about missing out on the great one of them, and they already know that they may not be able to identify the great one of them, so they're gonna just try their best. So it's a tough job for them. You can imagine you don't even know whose idea is going to be the greatest, and I'm going to talk about that shortly as I round this off. So don't be quick to ask for a face-to-face. The goal is to get a reply to your email or a follow-up conversation, and ensure that your contact details are there. If you're asking for a phone call, make sure your phone number is right there, right beside your ask. Like, don't go ask for a phone call and then expect them to go back to the beginning of your email or something, or to check down in your email signature to pick out your phone call. Put your phone number to pick out your phone number. Put your phone number right there where it is very, very visible, right beside your, hey, give me a call if you're interested in this. Okay. Yeah, so just to reiterate, investors really don't know which idea would work. That's an interesting thing. So it kind of means that everybody has a shot. Investors don't know what ideas will work. They can't read your email and figure out whether your idea is going to work or not, because especially the professional investors, they know that they may have missed out on some great opportunity before, which they thought, this doesn't make any sense. But the thing that doesn't make any sense turned out to be a great business because whoever was in charge of it executed excellently. And that's the key. Investors don't know which idea will work, but they can identify if a team is executing excellently. They can identify if a founder has a structured way of thinking from their email. All right, they can identify if there's a market opportunity that they're trying to take advantage of from your follow-up phone call. So they can pick information from you as they go. So it's like the door is going to be open to you if you walk in the right way. So you get that? Like, you're going to get the opportunity if you cold email the right way. And since no particular investor knows what business is going to work, they're going to give you a listening ear. But you have just a very short time to make that impression. And it begins with your cold email. So I'm sure that this has been very helpful to you. So next time you're emailing an investor, you're going to put all these things to heart. And if you want to go through the first part again to relieve the different parts or different things to take note of when cold emailing, that's really a good one. And you can also check out an example there. But here we have one more example. Let's look at another example here as we round this off. Okay, this is a good template. We've got to put the reference in the description box. But this is a good one also. Hi, I wanted to reach out as we're going to open up a company name, your company name, round to financing to investors next month, and would like to offer you early access to be. You will also be investing with a few other venture capital firms, XYZ. So this is beautiful. Like, you go straight to the point. Introduce the company, and if you notice, this example doesn't talk about what the company does, because it's assumed that the person who you're writing to already knows the company exists. So that is assumed in this email, and that may not be your case. So the very first template might be more appropriate for you. But I cannot overemphasize the role of bullets. That is this 1, 2, 3, this kind of writing format. All right, and then you can look at it. It reads the glance. You can see the whole thing. You don't have to scroll really, although it depends on the device you're looking at it on. But the fact is, you can read all this in less than 60 seconds, and that's really, really appropriate. So those are very important examples, and that's what you need to do if you are gonna cold call investors. So yeah, you may be watching this as a single video or as part of a program with us here at Inversion. That's great. If it's a single video, you can go ahead to share your own experience in the comment section. And if you're part of a program, I'm sure you have opportunities to discuss some of the things you learned here, what you've tried, what you've done, maybe anything that we could put in here from your experience that could actually better help other entrepreneurs like yourself raise money from investors. Fundraising could be difficult, but it can be done. So remain optimistic and keep sending out those emails.